In 1994, my special guest had the #1 TV show of the year, with over 18 million of us watching an evening with. I can, of course, only be talking about one man, and I'm also very pleased to welcome Ken Dodd.
Young man, statistics. That's what you're doing, statistics. And all we're worried about is doing a happy show with lots of laughs and jollity. And saying, by Jove, missus, how tickled we are. How tickled you'll be. Yeah, we're going to do our best to make them laugh.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Alex. How are you? I'm fizzing like a bottle of pop at the corkhouse. How are you diddling? All right?
I'm very well for me age.
Yeah, you're a venerable old gentleman. See, I got that word right.
You've had a busy year. You've been doing all sorts, touring, of course.
It's been another wonderful year in another wonderful life. 2001. It's been a very sad year and a very shocking year for a lot of people. But for show business, it's been very, very good because people love to laugh. And they're the people I want to entertain, the people with good chuckle muscles.
When I said in the beginning that you do a 6-hour show, I wasn't really joking, was I, Ken?
It wasn't 6 hours. Rubbish. It may seem like 6 hours. So to some people, it seems like 6 days. But no, it's a variety show. And we have lots of other people in the show. A variety is a lovely word. It means a variety of skills. And I like to have on my show, I like to have people who are very, very talented and very, very skillful. Musicians, magicians, singers, very highly skilled people. So it's a variety show. And there isn't just me on it. And in any case, the interval goes on forever. And well, it does go on a bit, I must admit, yes. Yes, I've got to start doing shorter shows, I think, yes. Yes, because two ladies were going out, two old ladies said, what time does he finish? What day does he finish? But there's one thing about my shows, Alex, you always go home in the daylight. I've seen children grow out of their trousers while I've been on. Now, I like to do a show that gives people value for money because I'm very, very conscious of the fact that when people come to see my shows, like a live show, they put hard-earned money down. Money is hard to come by, and it's people work very, very hard for the money. And for someone to bring their wife, their girlfriend, their children, their lodgers, their grannies, and then there's the getting ready for the show, there's the leg waxing, there's the eyebrow plucking, and then there's the wife stuff as well. So it's it costs a lot of money. So I like to give them good value. I like to really make them laugh, if I can.
And on top of all that, the overtime for the babysitter as well. That can be pricey, can't it?
Well, not if you've got a well-stocked fridge, no.
Now then, as I described at the beginning of the show, you've had an amazing career, over 40 years in show business. How did it all begin?
I started probably in 1900 and frozen to death when I was about 10 or 11. I was one of those little boys who used to read the Wizard and the Hotspur and the Rover. My mother used to call them tuppenny books. And there were real stories, not strip cartoons. There were real stories you had to read, all about great heroes, Shrang the Terrible, Wilson, who could run a mile in 3 minutes, and people like that. And at the back of the book, there was always advertisements, things like itching powder, stink bombs, and a marvellous thing called a C-bacroscope, which was a small device, plastic device with mirrors, and you put it in your eye like a monocle, and you could see if an assassin was creeping up behind you, which is very important for a lad of 9 years old. So one day I saw this advertisement. It said, fool your teachers, amaze your friends, send sixpence in stamps, become a ventriloquist. So I did, didn't I?
Yes.
See, he'll tell, that's Dickie Mint. So I became a ventriloquist overnight, I think. I got a Swiss bird warbler, which you put in your mouth and you make bird calls. I had every bird in Knotty Ash up at the crack of dawn. 3 o'clock in the morning. Come on, get out of your nests. And I started doing shows. My first show, I think, was, St Edward's Orphanage on a Christmas day. Captive audience, you see, no fool. Then school shows, and then Boy Scout concerts, and anywhere where there was an audience. My mother would pack my case with me ventriloquist figure in. She said, I don't care where you go, Kenny, as long as you wear a clean shirt. So I used to do shows all over Merseyside, all sorts of, amateur shows and pensioners, anywhere where there was an audience.
So what was the year then?
I can't remember, because it was a long time ago. There were mammoths and saber-toothed tigers roaming around Fazakerley. And we used to go all over clubs, and that's where you learn your trade, around the working men's clubs, because that's where you learn to respect an audience. You learn that an audience is a wonderful thing, and they're on your side if you deliver. So I learned to love audiences, and then then when I was 24, I turned professional. My first date was Nottingham Empire, and then I went on to to Sunderland. That taught me a lesson. Bit of a difference. Then down to Leeds. They had a lovely Empire in the arcade. Then the House of Terror, Glasgow Empire.
You must have been going back to those theatres year after year after year for about 25 years. How do you change and develop your act to keep up to date?
Every day we change, Alex, every day. Nothing stays the same ever. Every hour we change, and every day. Show business has changed remarkably. Comedy has changed, of course. It changes every day, and you have to change with it, or better still, if you can, lead the change and make the change and be the first one of in your field.
How have you managed to do that, though?
I change with the public. When I sense that they want something different, I change my act, and I change the gags, and I change the structure of the acts. I've had about 7 different careers in the years, in the 47, 48 years I've been professional. I've been a stand-up comedian, which we didn't call it that in those days. In 54, you were called a front cloth comedian. Front cloth, because you went on about number 2, number 3, usually while they were clearing up from the Liberty horses behind you. Some of them took terrible liberties. And you went on number 2, number 3. You did exactly 11 or 12 minutes, and it had to be exactly. If you ran 30 seconds over, you got a very nasty letter from head office. There was always the obligatory chair with 3 legs and a dish of rat poison in the corner. That was it. That was your dressing room.
It's very showbiz, isn't it?
Very showbiz. And there were usually artists who'd been there before, and actors had been before. They usually scribble little notes on the door. I remember seeing one by John Gielgud. It said, "Help!"
What a wonderful world.
It is a wonderful world, Alex. It is a wonderful world. Just look around you. Isn't it wonderful? It's all the things we sometimes we forget to appreciate. All the different sights and sounds and people you meet and all the different wonderful things, trees and flowers and mountains. It's a wonderful, wonderful world, you know. And we're so fortunate, we're so blessed to be able to live in it.
And I think it's fair to say, Ken, that part of your success might be down to the fact that you give away such happiness and warmth on stage as part of your act.
Oh, no, I don't know about that, but I bring a lot of happiness to my own life because I love singing, I love being a comedian, I love being an entertainer. I think the most wonderful thing in the world is to slave over a hot audience.
I mean, I suppose in a way, the one thing that transcends all languages is the act of having a good laugh, isn't it?
The sound of laughter is the most beautiful sound in the world, and particularly to a comedian. To see an audience rocking backwards and forward, hooting with laughter, that is the most wonderful sound and the most wonderful sight in the world. What is a laugh? It starts here in the middle of your diagram. There, see your diagram? That's your diagram there, where you're pointing now.
Yes.
And then it works its way up, past, out through your clack, and out through your titter valve. There's a rainbow of laughter. There's all different colours of laughter. Right at the very top, there's the pure white laughter, the laughter of pure joy. And you can hear this anytime you pass a school playground. You can hear it for free. See little children leaping up and down and jumping about and throwing their hand and laughing for the sheer joy of being alive. Isn't that wonderful? And then as you go down through the spectrum, through the rainbow of laughter, there's different kinds of laughter. There's yellow laughter, blue laughter, which we won't go into, Alex, because you're very sensitive.
Absolutely.
And then right down to the bottom, there's the dark colours of cynicism, sarcasm, insult, shock. When you say the word comedy and humour, it's like saying the word music. There's all kinds of music. There's classical music, there's country music, there's pop music, garage music, which should be only heard in a garage, and all these different kinds of music, you see. There's Ken Dodd, who makes noises that pass for singing. Ken Dodd makes records. We all have our own little niche.
Now then, Ken, you've been entertaining us for over 40 years, but we really don't know much about the real Ken Dodd. You don't do many of these in-depth interviews, do you?
I believe that your public image is very important, and obviously you want to talk to the public about things that concern you, and even share some personal and private thoughts. I remember Arthur Astley saying to me, "Doddy, when the front door closes, the front door closes." I just find it very rude of people to want to be peeping Toms, to go into people's lives, and I feel very offended. I won't watch these, and I won't read these magazines that tell you all about whether somebody wears their socks in bed, and I don't want to know whether they have cornflakes for breakfast. That's why I think some of these, Big Sister, our programme, Big Sister, I don't want to see people cutting their toenails and
going to the bathroom,
dyeing their hair, and going to the bathroom.
Oh yes, there was cameras in there as well.
You mustn't do things in the bathroom for them that I think... I think that's very embarrassing, that to even talk about things like that. A person's private life, and whether they wear a vest or whether they... Do you wear a vest?
No.
No.
I don't wear any underwear.
There you are, see, listeners, there's a little bit of voyeurism for you.
Do you?
Young Belfield doesn't wear underwear. Can you imagine?
I suppose the thing is, though, we all want to know.
You don't want to know. It's curtain twitching. People want to know about your job, and people want to know perhaps how you do it. People want to know the ins and outs of your particular skill. Some celebrities thirst for that kind of publicity because it's the only kind of publicity they can get. They're not much good at anything else. So they say there's even bad publicity is better than no publicity, which I think is wrong because the only thing I want to publicise is my particular job as an entertainer, that's all.
But the public love reading it, don't they?
No, I don't know if anybody wants to know whether I wear my socks in bed.
Well, I don't know, there might be a few listeners. Do you wear socks in bed?
Well...
These cold winter nights?
Well, it's not the sort of thing I want to talk about.
Let's talk to you about your childhood, if you don't mind, for a moment. I'm not going to pry too much, but what
childhood. I talk about my childhood quite freely. I had a wonderful, happy childhood, and I do wish that everybody had the same happy childhood. I think having a good family background, I had a wonderful mother and father, I've got a wonderful brother and sister, and I think if you have a happy childhood, you're very, very blessed because it's like the foundations of a house. You're building your life on a very, very good foundation.
Were you a funny child?
Funny, ha-ha, funny, peculiar. No, I was a very, very normal, weedy sort of kid, I think. I liked flying kites and had railway trains, and I once, the man next door, I once dug up all these, whenever I was 2, I dug up all these flowers to see if they were, see how they were growing. Yeah, quite normal. Once broke lots of windows and... but the usual stuff, yeah.
Were you funny at school? Did you make the kids laugh?
No, not a bit. No. I've always been, I suppose, a bit mischievous because I could read, you see. That was my big thing. Oh, yes. That was the big turning point in my life because I could read when I was 4. And so all through my life, I've had this love of reading. And I started off with, as a boy, reading Coral Island, Treasure Island, Swiss Family Robinson, all adventure books. And then I graduated to the Pickwick Papers. It's all there in books, all people's lives, people's imagined lives, people's real lives, adventure, romance, heroism, courage. It's all there in books.
What was your mum like?
Well, my mother, she used to say to us, you can be anybody and you can do anything you want to do if you want to, enough.
Were your mother and father funny? Because you must have got it from somewhere.
No, not at all. My father was the funniest man I ever knew. My father still is the funniest man ever. At Christmas time, wonderful Christmases, looking forward to it, building up to it, carol singing, going out carol singing, knocking at people's doors, all the lights, making your own decorations, remember those chains? Did you ever do that?
Yes, with the paper.
Yeah, that's it. The Christmas party at school, did you ever have those where you have to take your own spoon and plate and everybody took cakes and things, you had a school party. All these were all part of the magic of childhood.
So what did your mum and dad do then?
I've never ever seen two people work as hard. They were my father was a coal merchant and my mother used to, in those days you had to go around and get the money at the weekend because people weren't as flush as they are today. So between them, they worked terribly, terribly hard. But we had very happy Christmases. Christmas presents on Christmas morning. Then over to I was in the choir at St John's Church, just over the road from our house. Christmas dinner, turkey, of course, turkey. Well, we went pork people or hen people. We were turkey people with real roast potatoes, the one with a big slab of crisp on. Carrots and turnips mixed. Carrots and turnips mashed and mixed. Oh. Christmas pudding, jelly. I'm a jelly maniac. I love jelly. God, I love jelly. And then I used to have a lady just down the road, a Scots lady, used to make wonderful Scottish bun loaf, Mrs. Haggarth. And of course we had Christmas pudding with Sixpences in, which suited me somehow or other. I always had that thing that started me off. Yeah, and we'd have all the family would be there, my mother and father and my brother and sister, and sometimes Uncle Jack, who was my great uncle, was the very first. He was diminutive, quite small. He'd be the inspiration for the Diddy Men.
Was he really? So what made you then want to be a comedian, not a coal man?
I was a coal man. Oh, I was a coal man. Yeah, I was a coal man for about 10 years. I was a coal man from when I was about 15 to when I was 20 odd. Yeah, I was a coal man for a long time. With my brother, Billy, and I, we ran the business when my father wasn't well. We used to shift about 20 ton of coal a day. And that's, I think, another thing where I got used to dealing with the public. They're saying, hello, missus, and talking to people like in an ordinary conversational way. A lot of people can't do that, A lot of people are a bit shy of talking to other people. They can talk to their relatives and their friends. I always have been able to talk to anybody.
It's all mobile phones and internet these days, isn't it?
Well, that's it. I don't know, the mobile phone. It's very handy for some things, but some chip shop queues ban them, You're in the chip, if you're in a chip shop, no mobile phones.
Really?
Switch them off. Oh, yeah. Not when people are dining. You can't. Not in a chip shop.
So what happened in between you being a coal man and becoming Britain's best-known comedian?
I was playing the clubs, amateur shows, and then all the different working men's clubs, and then froth blowers, hot pots, and dockers soirees.
I beg your pardon?
But dockers soirees. Dockers have tea parties where they all take tea with each other and little boiled ham snacks and things like that. Where did this man come from? I'm talking about the after-dinner entertainment, what they call smoking concerts. And you go along there and you do your turn after they've all eaten. You go on and you're thrown to the lions. Then you play the clubs and the dinners, and then you move up a stage to the Masonics and the Rotaries and the posh people. So you do cabaret, which just teach you a lesson.
Do you go down well in these classy events?
Oh, yes. They're all sitting there in the evening dress, and you have to go on and bring them down a peg or two, and they love it. Strange. One of the strangest phenomena is that people, when they're out for a meal in a restaurant, you can't go wrong if you just slag the restaurant. Have a go at the meal and say, I've been having a word with the chef. I said, what do you do about salmonella? Oh, he said, we just fry it in butter the same as everything else. And yes, here we are. Look at all these evening dresses. It's like performing in a penguin colony in Antarctica.
Ken, did you always have that self-belief that you'd make it?
You have to, Alex. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to have dreams. I used to go to the Empire Theatre in Liverpool, and it's a huge theatre. And I'd say, when will I ever stand on that stage? And I have. And I will again, I hope, please God. And then first time I went to the Palladium as a customer, when you go through the front door of the Palladium, it's like going into a temple. The hairs on the back of your neck stand up and you think, this is it. This is where they have been. And I did I still hold the record, the longest season. It wasn't all one show, but from Easter to Christmas, 40 odd weeks, twice nightly, 3 times on a Saturday. And I've stood on that magic stage where Danny Kaye stood, where Johnny Ray, Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, where all the greatest stars in the world have stood on that spot. And I've stood on it. And I've entertained that audience. Isn't that wonderful? I never cease to marvel at it.
And you've done it in front of royalty as well for the Royal Variety performances.
I've done about 15 shows, about 15 royal shows,
Ken Dodd and Still. You've got an interesting story about that, haven't you?
I recorded it at the same time as another man recorded it, called Carl Denver. He got it up to number 2, and I think I got it up to number 2, or did he get it up to number 1 and I got it up to number 1? It doesn't matter. We got it. We were there anyway, right at the very top, and we rivaled each other. And Carl was a lovely singer, and it was written by a man called Bill Anderson in America, who also wrote another lovely song called 8x10, which I recorded. And then Bill Anderson wrote a fantastic song called Happiness, Happiness, the greatest gift that we possess.
There's something great about the music that you do sing, and you do it in such a great way. And the thing I love about you as well, you do it live.
All songs used to be sung live, and all songs used to be recorded live. When I recorded Love Is Like a Violin, Tears, Happiness, well, 90% of the songs that I recorded before, say, 1980, were all done live at the Abbey Road Studios with an orchestra of about 50 men, all there, and women, all in one part of the studio with glass screens around them. Really? And you sang in a little cubicle on your own. So you're trying to make a call to someone. And it was done live there and then, yeah.
So I suppose you made Abbey Road famous long before the Beatles were even thought of.
Oh, long before the Beatles. Oh, long before. I was doing a show once. I was doing a week's variety at the Bradford Alhambra in Yorkshire, and during the week, a bloke here in Liverpool phoned me up, George Martin. Him and his brother Teddy were ambulance drivers, but they were also, their hobby was raising money for St John's Ambulance. Would I appear as a guest artist at the Albany Cinema on the Sunday afternoon to raise money? So I got along there about 3:00 o'clock, and the show had been in progress for about an hour, I think, and put me in the manager's office, and it was like a little peephole that he presumed that the manager used to look through and see what the film was up to during the week. And there were some people on the stage, and they were making a tea-chest and making a terrible row, and there were kids going to the toilet and throwing orange peelers to each other, and women were going out, and people were... And I said to George, what time am I on? He said, about 4 o'clock. I said, well, you better do something about this, what's going on here now. I said, because these fellas here, I said, you're not going to have an audience. He said, they're not very good, are they? I said, well, no, they're not. And so he got them off the stage, and they had the interval, and I can remember my trousers around my ankles, because a hand came from around the door, and the voice said, somebody said, if we give you a card, you can get us a few bookums. And about 4 years later, Paul McCartney said to me, he said, we've been on with you before, you know, Doddy. I said, yeah. Yeah, he said, don't you remember that show at the Alban in McGull? I said, that wasn't you, was it?
Really?
Yeah, he said, we were awful, weren't we? And they went, and I've got the programme in the house. I dare say it'd be worth a lot of money now.
Who else have you worked with who now are big stars, but in those days were just doing the business as you were?
Well, they've worked with me and I've worked with them. I've been very lucky in my life. I worked with all my heroes. I was able to work with Arthur Askey, Ted Ray, Rob Wilson, Tommy Cooper. I once did a show with Max Miller. Yeah, I once did one show with Max Miller, a radio show. He was a lovely man, charming man. I've worked with all the greats.
Who is your favourite comedian of them all?
It's very difficult to say a favourite comedian because all comedians are good on a good night, and all comedians have good nights and not so good nights. And so it's very unfair to say that one stood out. But obviously, your personal taste, apart from being a professional admirer, your personal taste has something to do with it. And I have to say that one or two comedians I have a great fondness for, and I would always switch on when they're on. You know
who?
Oh no, that's very private.
Is there anybody you'd switch on today to watch?
Yes, lots of comedians I'd switch on today to watch, yeah. Lots of them.
Any of them you'd care to mention?
No. That's maybe unfair. As a fellow comedian, that would be unfair.
Now, I want to talk to you about jokes. What is a joke?
Like a watch. It has a movement. It has to be little cogs and sprockets, wouldn't it? In a joke, it's tiny little inferences, nuances, shadings, emphasis. And there's timing got a lot to do with it. Same as a watch. Your timing, rhythm has got a lot to do with it. So a joke is a beautiful thing. It's a very, very condensed situation. A little play. It's like a little play, all contained in a few words. There's one-liners, of course. They're more wisecracks and witticisms. But a joke, an anecdote, it's a beautiful thing.
How do you craft them, though? How do you think of the scenario to lead you to that punchline that's going to have everybody in hysterics?
You don't usually dream up the joke yourself. Those sort of jokes, story jokes, are usually passed on to you by someone. Or you might alter another joke around. Or you might take a very, very old joke and bring it up to date. Of course, it can ruin your clothes. You know, you can...
Ruin your clothes?
Yeah. I've lost quite a few good suits at the same time as getting a good joke. See, what happens is sometimes you're in the gents and a man standing alongside you says, I've got a great joke for you, Doddy. And if you're daft, you say, have you? And he turns to you as he does, and that's where he ruins your suit.
You must think of some yourself, though, and you must come up with
yes,
them.
Well, of course, that's called patter. Yeah, material. And most, I would say 95% of my stuff is stuff that I dream up myself, ideas that I get some very funny ideas now, Alex.
I can imagine that, actually.
Yeah. You dream up situations, you take things that happen to you, incidents, you think to yourself, wouldn't it be funny if you saw like a radio presenter was suddenly attacked by and Rottweilers and I'll say, and then perhaps the producer with the funny haircut went berserk with one of these editing scissors, and we cut all his hair off. That's it. Yeah. We cut all his hair off, and then we do. What else do we do? Yeah, we get the girl in the other office because I know she happens to be a tattooist in her spare time, and we put dreadful tattoos all over his personal body.
So we've got the jokes now about the radio presenters. How do you remember them all after all these years?
Well, you have to have a good memory, of course. Once you see a piece of material, or once you dream of a piece of material you think is going to be a good one, and then turns out to be a good one, it's like an old friend. You don't forget old friends. See, inside everybody's mind, there's about 2 or 3 people, you know.
Really?
Oh, yes. I think a person's mind is rather like a house that you live in, and you look through different windows, and you see different scenes. I mean, you're not just Alex Belfield. Well, I would hope not. I would hope the one I'm seeing now is not. I would hope that's not all there is to you. Surely, somewhere in there, I don't think any of this will go out. Somewhere behind that sort of face. Oh dear. Yeah. There's sort of a Cary Grant of the Midlands, isn't there? Or isn't there a sort of isn't there a sort of a Mel Gibson lurking in there? Or
you're saying there's an attractive person trying to burst out?
No, I'm saying there might be. I didn't say there was. I just said there might be.
Yeah. So we've got the gags. You remembered them. Where do you test them, or do you just know that a gag's funny?
No. You can test them on an audience. Once you've made friends with the audience, you can do new material and try new concepts. On the other hand, you can go on and just wing it.
I suppose you're at a slight advantage, though, because your audience will laugh at you immediately, because you've only got to walk on stage and they're in hysterics.
No. An audience is like a very big, lovable dog. A big St. Bernard or a big Alley or a big Rottweiler. And, good boy. And you what a good... Oh, good. Give us your paw. And they do all that, you see. Sit. Now, sit. Heel. And they're just looking at... And then it starts and it goes... And then you go, think of something quick.
Have you ever got to the end of a gag and forgot the punchline?
Yeah, it's because you're thinking of something else, probably. You're thinking of the next gag, or you're wondering whether that man on the front row, what has he got concealed under his jerkin then? Is it a club? Is it a bow and arrow? You hope it's a bow and arrow. So your mind wanders and you just, all of a sudden you suddenly realise it's gone, and you don't know what you're going to do next.
In your 50 years of show business, you must have had some amazing things happen.
Some young people, I'd known this lady quite a while as a supporter, and they said, would I go along and see her? She was in a coma, and she hadn't uttered one word for 3 months, and she was slipping away, and could I do something? So after a show, I was up that way about 3 o'clock in the morning, and this lady was just lying there, she motionless, and the staff nurse said she'd been like that for 3 months. And I'd taken one of the little Diddy Men figures, one of the little Diddy Men dolls we had in those days, along with me, and I put him at the side of the bed. I don't know, probably it was Dickie Mint or Nigel Ponsonby Smallpiece or Mick the Marmalizer. And I said, there he is, Audrey. Now he's watching you. He wants you to come out of this, wherever you are at the moment, and come back into the world and say hello. And all of a sudden, in that dark ward, her lips just moved just slightly, and a little voice said, happiness. Well, you'd have thought an earthquake had happened, because the whole hospital went berserk, or at least that ward did. There were doctors flying here, because that's the first sound she'd made. And that lady is still there today, up in Lancashire, and she's had the joy of seeing her daughters who'd got in touch with me. She's seen those daughters married. She's got grandchildren. So Audrey, and we always call it our miracle. That was the miracle. I was present. I watched a miracle happen.
I suppose wherever you go, you must just feel love from a lot of people, because there's so many people waiting for you outside the theatre every time you leave, isn't there? I
think that is one of the things that's a very humbling experience that you don't have an answer for. You don't know why, but for some reason or other, these people have sort of, as it were, adopted you in their mind, and it goes further than being just a supporter or a fan or someone who just wants to laugh. They become very, very firm friends, and it's a lovely feeling to think that there are people who, to them, you symbolise happiness.
We're going to play another piece of music now, and one of your great songs is Absent Friends, and you've got it on a new tape and CD out for Christmas.
It is a great song, and it's a British song, and it's written by a man called Wes Cardy, and a friend of his who knew me, an ex-policeman in London, phoned me up one night. He said, I've got a great song for you again. He said, can I play it to you? So he played it on the phone. I said, oh, now that sounds very good. That sounds very interesting. He said, I'll send you the tape. So he sent me the tape, and I said, this is a good song. This is a very, very good song. And that's about 4 years ago now. And I put it in the act, and it goes like a rocket. You know, it really is a super song. You must have met a lot of people in this business and made a lot of friends. But you don't kind of do the showbiz stuff, do you? Turning up to all these parties and opening of an envelope like a lot of people do. I have a lot of personal friends, a lot of very good friends, very close friends. And we get together, and obviously we go out for for a drink or we go for a meal. I'm not an awards visitor. I can't be ungrateful because I've had a lot of awards myself. I was awarded the Fry's Chocolate Shooting Star Award, which I've still got in the house.
What was that for?
That was for one of the fastest selling records. I've also got, as I say, I've got 2 golden discs, about 4 silvers and a platinum. I can put OBE after my name, which means one boiled egg, or something like that. The award which thrilled me, probably more than most of them, was this year. I was made a Freeman of the City of Liverpool, which was an immense thing. And to be a Freeman, there's not many of them. It has all sorts of perks. I'm entitled to drive a flock of sheep up past the town hall at Gale Street every Tuesday in the morning. I'm entitled to raise a platoon of pike carriers for the Duke of Verzaccoli. So there's lots and lots of perks to being a Freeman. And the day I was honoured, I presented myself at the town hall. All the civic dignitaries were there with chains of office and robes and cocked hats and all very, very traditional. And I was escorted to the podium and the Lord Mayor presented me with this jewelled casket, which I have. It's a beautiful thing. And inside was an illuminated scroll and read to the assembled 500 people. I said, present this at any deep pan pizza parlour and you will receive a free portion of garlic bread. This offer ends January the 1st. And I did actually do that.
Did you really?
Tore the place down. They laughed till they cried. And then I was allowed to do a speech, which of course I laid into every one of the councillors and Lord Mayor and gave him a good drubbing, which that is a fool's license. See, when you're a jester, we're allowed to say these things. So, and they say, ha ha ha, oh yes, oh he's always a funny fellow, isn't he? Oh, fancy saying that about the local MP. Ha ha, we know it's true, but fancy. And so you're allowed to say also things about all the top people.
So I suppose then that's one of the many advantages of doing your job.
I've been able to travel all over the world. I've bathed in the hot pool at Iceland.
I do hope you kept your clothes on.
Young people have always got this thing about, were you never properly potty trained or something? What's this? They have a fascination for nakedness.
Well,
young people, why? But you don't parade around in your pelt, do you? I mean, you don't.
If you've got it, flaunt it.
Really? I never looked at it like that. No.
Have you got it?
No, I hope so. Some of it's still there. I shall wear my bathing trunks just the same to make sure.
You mentioned earlier you were given the OBE. That must have been an amazing day for you.
That was, yes. It was just a great honour and a great privilege to receive the Order of the British Empire. I understand the reason I was awarded it was for work that I did for Clatterbridge Cancer Research Trust. And I was patron or president of the trust. I still am. They raised millions and millions of pounds for all kinds of equipment and amenities.
Another thing that's quite important in your life is religion, isn't it? Because you've often been seen on the telly at different services.
I believe in God. I believe in God. I believe in my Creator. And whether you call him God, Jehovah, or any other name you like to call him, it's still your Creator. And I believe in my Creator. And after that, I'm a Christian. Maybe I should say first and foremost I'm a Christian. But I do believe in my Creator, and I'm a Christian, yes. And I try to uphold some of the traditions and the rules.
Do you think your God gets you through each show?
Oh, yes, I'm sure, yeah. The power of prayer is absolutely amazing. I know that because when you're in trouble and you pray, you do get help, yes.
We're going to move on now and talk about the whole branding of Ken Dodd, because you built up this whole mystique around you. Words like Tatty-Falarius and, of course, your Diddy Man. And not many people know that Knotty Ash, where you come from, is in fact a real place.
Oh, yes. Knotty Ash is a village 4.5 miles, 5 miles east of Liverpool. And it's a very nice community there, yeah.
And as for the rest of it, I know you mentioned earlier that your uncle was a small man, that's where the Diddy Men came from. But as for words like Tatty-Falarius and Distum Nuckerated, what about that?
The Tatty-Falarius bit started when I first fell in love with comedy, when I first fell in love with humour. I'd be a teenager, and I remember saying to my mother and my father once, what is a joke? What is a joke? What makes people laugh? How can I become a comedian? And my father was a great believer that if you want to know anything, you go to the library. We have a most wonderful library system in this country. I did have the pleasure a few weeks ago of going to the new British Library in London. Anybody listening who wants a thrill, if you really want a charge, excitement, go and see the new British Library. It is magnificent. And so I read every book I could. I sort of looked up the word laugh, joke, humour, clown, comedian, and I learned that the great philosophers and psychologists of history, right down from Aristotle down to Freud and Schopenhauer and all the other great philosophers, they've all had a go at explaining what a laugh is. What's really why do we laugh? Why doesn't our ears light up? You know, we go, see, look, you're doing it now. This peculiar noise, but you're going, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, your breath is coming in short pants. And you're laughing again. Now, why do we make this noise? Why didn't your nose go from side to side like yours did then? And why do we all have different... Why do some people go and some people go ha 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 ha, and Father Christmas goes ho 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 ho, and some young ladies go ho 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 ho. And gradually, over the years, I've read every book I possibly can, and I've got a huge library of books on comedy, humour, comedians and clowns, which I love. I just love reading them and thinking about them and wondering and how. And I've got various theories of my own as to why some people say there are only 7 jokes. Other people say, no, there's 25 jokes. Other people say, no, there's no such thing as a joke. Other people say, no, you mustn't try and analyse humour because it's like pulling the wings off a butterfly. Freud said it's the application of psychic energy. But then you see, Freud never played Saturday night second house at Glasgow Empire. I mean, I look at your producer sitting there now so quietly, and he's got this exotic haircut. It's absolutely marvellous. It looks as though somebody's had a go at him with a garden rake, and he looks as though he needs an oil change. It's like my mother used to have a scrubbing brush like that.
We could talk about your hair. I mean, that's been another part of your brand in a way, hasn't it?
Of course, yeah.
Was that deliberate, or did you just not go for a haircut?
I always wanted curly hair, and I haven't got curly, but completely straight hair. I always wanted curly hair. I've tried everything. I saw this business rippling up like this, see? And it just stays there. And then I was playing the Carlton Norwich, and I was so nervous, I used to run my fingers through my hair. And I was so nervous, and it just went, and that's what happened.
You look like one of the Teletubbies.
No, it stood on end. So your hair and your teeth. See, most people have curly hair and straight teeth. I'm the other way around. I'm the only one in our house who eats tomato through a tennis racket.
So just before we go, I've got to talk to you about An Evening with Ken Dodd #1, which, as I've said before, had massive ratings. Over 18 million people watched it, and that was in 1994. You've just recorded a new one, An Evening with 2. How did it go?
Well, when you say 18 million, that's not the highest number of people I've ever tortured on television. No, I once did a Christmas show, that played to, it was either 32 or 34 million. 34 million people. But that was when there was only one channel at BBC One. Well, it wasn't even called BBC One, it was called BBC Television. And it would be about 1959, 60. And it was a Christmas Day show with John Laurie and all the gang there, all the different characters we had. But the audience with in 1994 it was probably one of the best shows I ever done in my life. Believe it or not, we had an all-ladies production team. Lorna Dickinson was the producer, wonderful lady, and all-lady technicians, and yeah, it was a wonderful show. And it did my career a great boost. So they said, would you like to do another audience with Ken Dodd? And it was a big success. The show went like a rocket. What it'll be like when it comes out, I don't know, because they edit it. And the trouble with some of these people, they haven't got a terrific sense of humour, so they don't really know one end of a joke from another. They might get them all mixed up. I don't know what it'll be like. But it was the night we did it was a great show. And we had lovely people there asking questions. The star of the show, the star questioner, was Anne Widdecombe.
What did she ask you?
If I was the television controller, how would I make better television shows?
What was your answer?
No, well, you'll have to watch the show, won't you?
So would you rather do live shows than TV? Because, of course, if it's live, they can't switch you off, can they?
Live shows are wonderful. Live shows are very exciting, and, of course, it's a totally different thing. In a live show, when you watch a live show, you don't just watch it, you're in it. So you take part. It's an experience. We all share this experience, whereas on television, it's only two-dimensional, isn't it? You stand on that chalk mark and do as you're told. I have to admit, I'm a control person. I like to control what I do, and I shudder when I think that, I've done the show. The show's been a great show, a wonderful show. Everybody's saying, oh, the best thing you've ever done. Please do it with nail scissors with you, not with a pair of garden shears. Cheers.
I'm sure it'll be fantastic. Ken, you don't do many interviews, I know you don't, and it's been absolutely great talking to you for an hour, and I hope to talk to you very soon.
Well, it's been a rare experience working with you, Alex, and I hope you feel better soon, and if not, get counselling, you know.
You think I need it?
I think there are certain people who could help you.
How many days or weeks or years do you think I need?
No, just repeat after me. Repeat after me. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you, listeners.
For listening to my programme.
I
hope you will always be my friends.
I hope you will always be my friends.
And help me.
Because
I do need help.
Because that's the end of the show.
Because I do need help.
I do need help. I indeed do. And I certainly need a cup of coffee.
And a very, very happy Ticklemas to all your listener. Whoever that person is.
Well, my mother's got to do something to occupy her time, hasn't she? It's been great talking to you today. You're a marvellous man. I think you're our biggest treasure in terms of comedy, and you look after yourself, won't you?
Thank you, Alex.
Ken Dodd will leave the show, as we should do, with happiness. Thank you very much.
Certainly not going to let him look after me.
The Alex Belfield In Conversation podcast with daisymedia.co.uk.